I'm not hearing back from her, so
Okay.
for the sake of time and everybody's schedules.
Yep. Sounds good.
So I'll call the meeting to order at 10:02. And Sandra, you'll record the attendance.
Yes.
Thank you. Article 2 on is the approval of the agenda. So if you haven't had a chance to look at the agenda, take a minute and I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
That motion is carried. All in favor?
All right.
All opposed? Article 3, approval of the minutes from October 15th meeting. If you haven't had a chance to look at those, if you could review those, and I'll take a motion to approve the minutes. It's only you guys.
I was not at that one either, so. Does anyone else want to make a motion that can?
We could, I've never had that situation before. We could, I suppose, just not approve them and put them on the next agenda.
I don't mind calling for a motion to approve, but I was not there, so.
Correct, yeah.
If you're comfortable, that's fine.
All right, motion to approve.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? That motion is carried to approve the minutes. Do we have any visitors that are online that are we?
We do have a mic.
He's with the project. So,
That was probably Mike Sharp, the builder.
Yep.
Okay, but
So-
they're going to talk about the project. Article 5, discussion regarding the process and purpose of the work plan. And I think Susan is going to lead us in that discussion.
yeah, so I got Susan on Zoom. Roman is kind of here as a backup in case Susan was having some
Technical
technical
difficulties.
difficulties. So they were tag teaming today, but she just wants to talk about the process and the purpose of the work plan, talk about the loan, the 381 work plan requirements, comments from the state and their approval, and then what the next steps are as far as the work plan, and then finally closing out the loan. So Susan, I'll let you get to it.
All right, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, so this work plan is a combined work plan that serves the purpose of fulfilling both the Act 381 requirements, which is what will let you use tax increment financing to collect the taxes paid, to pay the loan back, and to pay the developers for some of their upfront expenses. And it also serves the purpose of being for the loan, because the state hasn't quite got everything in line yet to have a work plan that does both. So we're kind of making this up as we go along. You are not technically required under the law to approve this. It doesn't have to go through the public hearing process like we did for the Brownfield plan that we did, in the spring, I think. But Sandra and I both wanted to make sure that the Brownfield Authority was informed about what's going on and that you have a chance to ask questions, because what this work plan does, once we approve it and once the state approves it, is that it gives, that you become obligated to draw from the loan. We are giving the project and the developers and their consultant the okay to start spending your loan money. So we wanted to be sure that you were comfortable with this before we obligate the township to start undertaking loan expenses. So as I mentioned, this is not the same thing as the Brownfield plan that we passed earlier this year. The Brownfield plan is kind of a big picture thing. And you'll remember that was just, we approve of this project and here are the general expenses. And we had some pretty big and broad estimates on what the costs would be. So it was vague. And what this work plan does is take that Brownfield plan that's big and vague and sort of drill down and get some better costs on it based on what we have learned about since we passed the Brownfield plan. What's happened is that the developers consultants have gone out, done a lot of sampling. They've removed the big soil pile. So that's all gone to the landfill now, and that was all paid for under the grant, the Eagle grant. After that soil pile was removed, the consultants have gone out, taken some samples in the soil that was underneath the soil pile that they couldn't reach feasibly before the soil pile was gone. So now they've got some better estimates on costs and what kind of contamination, and to nobody's surprise at all, the soil underneath the pile is also contaminated. So these costs are going to be much closer to reality, because we have more knowledge now. We still don't know that these are going to be the exact costs. What we're doing in the work plan is authorizing them to spend the money that they need to do to, take some more soil off site. What the Robinsons are putting a basement in their office building. So there'll be some soil excavation. They pay for the excavation because it's a regular cost of doing business. But because the soil that's coming out of that hole is contaminated, it has a greater cost to go to a landfill. So the soil, or the work plan, pays for the soil to go to the landfill, but not for digging it out. And whatever kind of verification sampling is needed after the soil pile is gone. So because I didn't want to waste your time by having you come back and review and approve Act 381 work plans multiple times, we had Eagle look at this work plan as a draft so that what you would be asked to approve was pretty close to what the final is going to be. So Eagle looked at it. It, like I said, authorizes their consultants to do that work. But we wanted to have them look at it and make sure that they were going to be generally okay with it before you saw it. So we weren't coming back to you with multiple versions of draft work plans. So Eagle has looked at this once. They gave us comments on it. Was the Eagle person who works on this is very particular, who was working on our project. And I was very happy that the comments were not extensive. So EnviroLogic, who developed the work plan, did a really good job on it. We made some changes to it and responded to some questions that Eagle had about why was this way, why was it that way. So Eagle gave us their comments. EnviroLogic revised the work plan. So the version that you looked at is the revised one. Eagle hasn't seen it yet, but this does respond to all their questions and comments. And what this will do once we approve it, as I said earlier, it allows you, it both allows the developers to go forward with the work. It incurs loan costs that the township is obligated to reimburse. And it also approves under Act 381, the tax increment capture. This work plan, I want to make sure you understand, does not include all the loan costs or all the costs that would be TIF'd for. So under Act 381, the state approves certain activities that you don't have to get their approval to do. So the phase 1 investigation, the phase 2 investigation, the developer's baseline environmental assessment, those are all pre-approved activities that were incurred and are not included in this work plan. So the work plan amount is not going to be the actual final amount that the township will TIF for. There will be a few other costs. It'll be a little bit higher. I want to say their early upfront costs were maybe $30,000, something like that. Mike might be able to help with that if it's an important number for you to know. So the township can still TIF for those numbers, or, for those costs, but they're not included in this work plan. So the actual cost in the end will not be exactly what you're approving today. Could be higher. It could be a little bit lower if the loan costs come in lower. So what you're being asked to approve today is the work plan that will go to Eagle. We expect it to be approved as is or very similar to what you're going to see today. We just want you to feel comfortable with incurring those costs for the township. At the end of the project, I'm going to do a spreadsheet for the township that will have all the actual costs on it, supported by invoices, which is required by the statute, and also by Eagle for the loan anyway. So I'll give Sandra a spreadsheet that she can share with the township treasurer that says, here's what all the actual costs are. Here's what can, you can take out of state tax increment revenues. Here's what you can take out of local tax increment revenues. So it'll be, there's that TIF table in the work plan, the really scary looking crazy table. I will give the township something a little easier to follow that says, here's what all your real costs are. Here's what you can TIF for. Here's how long it's going to take. So are there any questions?
I'm Roman Wilson with Fishbeck, and I just wanted to clarify one thing, and maybe Susan can help with this. But I think the Brownfield plan probably does cover all those costs. Is that correct, Susan?
It does not have all the upfront costs in it.
It does not.
Nope.
Okay. All right. So they would need potentially to do an amendment then at some point if they wanted to get reimbursement for.
Well,
those.
the pre-approved costs are not in a work plan, and actually Janet pointed that out to us.
Right.
And it's not required that they be in. I just lost my picture of you guys. So I can't see you. Anyways, so Janet said it was not required that the pre-approved costs be in the work plan, but she wanted to be sure that we were aware that there were, the pre-approved costs, which I am. And that's one of the reasons I want to do that spreadsheet at the end, so that you know what all the costs are and how much to TIF for, what has to be reimbursed to who. And in this project, because the loan is to the township is incurring some of the costs and the developers have incurred some costs. The way that the development agreement is set up, the developers get paid after the township pays the loan off. So that will also be in the spreadsheet that, here's what costs the township gets paid for, and you get paid back first. Then here's the Robinsons costs, and they get paid back after.
So Susan, maybe I didn't ask the question right. They weren't included in the original Brownfield plan, so not the work plan, but the Brownfield plan.
Yes, they are in the
Okay.
in the original
Okay.
Brownfield plan,
So
just
that-
not in the work
So
plan.
that's kind of what you can look at as your worst.
Oh, I have lost you.